Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my class, Molecular Mysteries. Hope you are thoroughly following my channel regularly. You are going through my videos. Please let me know in the comment box about. And also, recently, I have also started posting short videos also in my channel. Please go through them. You'll get plenty of information from the shorts videos, and I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you to understand. Okay, and please go through my channel regularly for the questions that I've been posting regularly. At least for 2 to 3 days, I'll be posting 2 or 3 questions, and please try and find some time in answering those questions whenever you go through my channel. Okay. Now, in the last class, we have already discussed about the respiratory tract. I mean, we have already started about the animal physiology class, and we have also covered the upper respiratory tract and the infections that are related to the upper respiratory tract, right? So, it could be bacterial, it could be virus, and all, and I also given the names of those bacteria. Okay, please go through those slides for your information. I'll also link that in your description box. Okay, and today in this class I want to talk about the lower respiratory system, also called the lower respiratory tract, which continues from the larynx. So larynx is called the voice box from which the next part of your lower respiratory tract starts, and which is called the trachea. And trachea contains 20 to 30 C-shaped cartilaginous rings. Why they are having C-shaped instead of having, why can't they have round shaped? Because, so you know that there is a food pipe also there called esophagus, from which the food enters into your body, right? And the esophagus is generally placed at the back of your trachea. That is why if it is round shaped, the esophagus the trachea will be pushing the esophagus, and thus the food can't be swallowed or chewed, which may lead to choking, which is dangerous, right? So the trachea cartilages are always C-shaped cartilage rings. Okay, this trachea even continues going forward into bronchi. Bronchi is again is a big vast thing, as it get further divided into primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, and tertiary bronchi. So the surface area of the lungs is so vast that the oxygen that we intake, the oxygen that we take would reach the tip of your bronchi, called the alveoli. So alveoli is the functional unit of your respiratory system. It is the area where the exchange of gases would happen. So just imagine how we are able to, take the oxygen and immediately give the CO2 outside. So that is how the system is. The oxygen that we've been taking inside will be collected through the alveoli, and there the exchange of gases would happen, and again it will be throwing the CO2 back to your lungs, through which the CO2 goes out from your body. So this is the very, the mechanism is so interesting. I'll let you know everything in the last slide. Okay, so now let's start with the parts of your lower respiratory tract. The first comes, I told you, it's a trachea. Trachea is having a ciliated pseudo stratified columnar epithelium. You know the types of epithelium. I will also come across that in skin and all. Okay, so they are having ciliated, like thin brush-like structures that would help in trapping the pathogens and also protecting the body from the foreign particles. Right. The trachea is a ciliated pseudo stratified columnar epithelium lined tubular structure supported by C-shaped cartilage rings. Okay, the flat open surface of these C rings opposes the esophagus to allow its expansion during swallowing. The trachea bifurcates and thus enters into the lungs, superior to the heart at the level of the sternal angle. What does sternal angle mean? See, you all know that heart is actually placed between the lungs. So it is not at the left of your body. Like heart would be situated at the in between the lungs, and that place is called mediasternum. Okay, and the apex of your heart is pointed towards your left side. That is why you call that heart is always towards your left. It's actually at the center, but the apex is pointing towards your left side, and thus it looks like it is on the left side of your body. It is actually situated between the two lungs. Okay, and the trachea, the tube that is coming from the top, is again bifurcated into the two into and enter into the two lungs called the bronchi. Okay, and now let's go to the next important part called bronchi. The bronchi, the main bifurcation of the trachea, are similar in structure but have the complete circular cartilaginous rings. Okay, and again this bronchi is again divided into based on your further divisions. It is again divided into main bronchi, lobar bronchi, and segmental bronchi. And you can even say it's like primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, and tertiary bronchi. Okay, okay. Now these bronchi keeps on dividing for 20 to 30 divisions, making it available for your conducting bronchioles to enter. So immediately after this bronchi, you have conducting bronchi, respiratory bronchi, and alveolar bronchi. I will teach you in detail in the last class, in the last slide. Okay, the main bronchi that are meant for supplying the ventilation for each lung, and the main bronchi, the right main bronchi has a large diameter and is aligned more vertically than the left. So these are small things, just please remember it. Lobar bronchi, two on the left and three on the right, supply each of the main lobes of the lung. Okay, segmental bronchi supply individual bronchopulmonary segments of the lung. Okay, these are the types of bronchi, and now this bronchi is leading to your conducting bronchi, then to the respiratory bronchi, and this to alveolar bronchi. Okay, now bronchioles. This bronchi is further divided, I told you. The bronchioles lack the supporting cartilage skeletons and have a diameter of around 1 mm. They are initially ciliated and graduate to the simple columnar epithelium, and their lining no longer contains mucus producing cells. So, mucus is being trapped only at the top of your respiratory system, not at the lower respiratory tract. Lower respiratory tract is all about the exchange of gases. How the process do it fast is very important, right? The conducting bronchi, I told you, conducts the airflow, and you know the conducting bronchi does not have any gaseous exchange. Where there is no gaseous exchange happening in the conducting bronchi. Okay, and next comes the terminal bronchi. Terminal bronchi are the last division of the airway without the respiratory surfaces. Okay, respiratory bronchioles contain occasional alveoli and have surface surfactant producing. They each give rise to 2 to 11 alveolar ducts. Yes. And you know, alveoli are like a group of cell like structures which resembles like a grape. So you can resemble them with grape and all. Okay, and the surface area is so large that it can easily take liters of air into the lung. So the surface area is more for the alveoli in the lungs. That is how it is taking the air from your outside atmosphere. Okay, now let's get into how the exchange of gases happen in alveoli. So alveoli is the final portion of the airway and is lined with single layer of your pneumocytes and in proximity to the capillaries. You know, each and every body has to be supplied with blood, then only the oxygen is entering into your body organs, you know, right? So oxygen is being taken to every part of your body through the blood. Okay, so that is how the alveoli, which is considered to be the tip of your lung, I can say not the lung, the tip of your respiratory part, which is playing a major role for your gaseous exchange because they reside near to your capillaries. So blood is again, you know, you have two types of bloods. If you go through the circulatory system in the coming classes, anyway I will be discussing about it. So we have oxygenated blood, you have deoxygenated blood, right? So how does that happen? Now let's see the process also. Okay, alveolar ducts are the tubular portions with respiratory surface from which the alveolar sacs are budding, right? So alveolar sacs are the blind-ended spaces from which the alveolar clusters are formed and where they would connect. These are connected by pores which allow the air pressure to equalize between them. So don't get confused with all this information. I just want to give you the basic exchange of gases, how the CO2 and how the RBC exchange of oxygen takes place between the capillaries and the alveolar epithelium. Okay, now let's go into the see. This is what I want to talk about. This is the important structure for you to draw whenever they are asked for the respiratory system, even for the undergraduate students, even for the students who have opted for zoology also for undergraduation. If they ask about the lower respiratory tract, it is must and should for the students to write about how does the exchange of gases happen in the alveoli. So they told you they look like clusters. I told you, right? They have been supplied with the capillaries which supply the blood towards your alveoli. You have red and blue. You already know that oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are two types, right? So the blood that is see, what happens is heart is the one which supplies blood to all the body parts, right? So the blood that is being supplied to all the body parts from the heart is oxygenated blood, which is a purified blood. That purified blood is coming from the lungs, because lungs are the one which is trapping the oxygen from the outside. So if you clearly understand the concept, the alveoli present in the lungs would trap the oxygen that is coming from the outside by breathing, by inhaling. Once it inhales the oxygen, already the capillaries that have been running from the heart does contain the deoxygenated blood, which is not having any oxygen, and they need oxygen for the supply to other body parts. If you get my point, the alveoli would take that particular oxygen and would immediately supply that particular oxygen to the blood. Thus it is purifying the blood, and thus this purified blood is again sent to the heart, right? And this heart would immediately send that oxygenated blood to other body parts. So the lungs play the important role for your purification also. How the oxygenated blood is made and sent to the heart is what happens in alveoli. So the rbc which are present in the blood is lined by the endothelium, right? And the epithelium cells of the alveoli, they are so close that the proximity is so close that they are around minimum of 1 micron to 2 microns in space between them, that would easily have the diffusion process through which the CO2 that is present in the blood enters into the alveoli, and the oxygen that is present in the alveoli would enter into the blood, right? So that is how the diffusion happens. If you just consider this diagram, these are the rbc which are the blood, and this is the alveoli, and these are the blood capillaries. Okay, so now the oxygen that is being taken by us is already present in the alveoli. What happens, this particular oxygen is now diffused into your rbc, and thus this blood is made into oxygenated. And again, the rbc that is also always present in the blood that need to be purified by the lungs is diffused out. That means the carbon dioxide that is already present in the blood for the purification has to be removed, right? So that is done by the diffusion process, where the carbon dioxide would be released out from the rbc and it is entering into your alveoli. So that mechanism is so fast that the alveoli will send the oxygen and it will collect the CO2. It will send the oxygen to the blood and it will collect the carbon dioxide from the blood, so that it will be moved out from your body. So that is so rapid that this mechanism is the whole mechanism is so interesting, that this happens in the fraction of second. Just imagine how the mechanism is made. It's a wonderful mechanism where the expiration happens in minutes, or sorry, in fraction of seconds, right? So CO2 that is already present should be removed from the blood, and the oxygen that is already been taken in should be supplied to the blood. That is why alveoli, though it look like very small sac like structure, they do play a very important role for your gaseous exchange. So hope I am clear with the concept. So for you to understand, I will also give you a diagram. So for my understanding, I have written everything. Okay, so what I have done here is, so these are all the these are all simple ways of understanding. See, this is your bronchi. So I told you bronchi, all upon the division it gets into secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi, and upon into small 20 divisions they enter into conducting bronchi. These conducting bronchi have a thick wall, and thus no gaseous exchange would happen in the conducting bronchi. And this conducting bronchi would further divide into small bronchioles called respiratory bronchioles, where thin walled tubes are present, and this thin wall minimum gaseous exchange would happen. Okay, and finally it will enter into the alveoli. Alveoli, these are the structural functional unit of your respiratory system. Because of its high surface area, maximum gaseous exchange would happen in the alveoli. And this alveoli is proximal to your blood vessel. That is why, because of its proximity towards your the capillaries of blood, the more gaseous exchange would happen. So that is what you call as alveoli. And I also given you the diagram of structure of alveoli. I just want to summarize it this way. So if you take the CO2 and if you take the oxygen and if you divide it, like in the alveolar air, the alveoli that is having the air which is coming from the outside does contain low oxygen, low carbon dioxide, and high amount of oxygen, right? And the blood that is already present, that you are getting from the heart for the purification, contains high amount of CO2, right? And it contains low amount of oxygen. That is what, right? The heart's function is to give that particular deoxygenated blood to the lungs so that it is made into oxygenated blood. So the blood obviously contains more amount of CO2. Once it enters into the alveoli, when it passes through the alveoli, because of this alveoli, the deoxygenated blood is again converted into oxygenated blood. Hope I'm clear with the concept of exchange of gases. See, and also this, for your small understanding, I have drawn you, this is the epithelium, and these are the RBC, right? And RBC, and you have the endothelium of your RBC and the alveolar epithelium, and this is the passage through which that process of diffusion would happen. The diffusion of gases would happen, and thus the exchange would happen. So hope I'm clear with the concept. Okay. Now, in the last class, we have already covered about the type of organisms, bacteria and virus which would attack mainly the upper respiratory tract. Now let us enter into the type of bacteria that would affect the lower respiratory tract. Okay. Bacterial infections in lower respiratory tract. Okay. See, I told you trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, lung, okay, and tracheitis. It is Streptococcus aureus again. Okay, this is a bacteria. And Mycobacterium pneumoniae, Mycobacterium catarrhalis, Streptococcus pneumoniae, and Haemophilus influenza. These are all the type of bacteria that are affecting the bronchi part of your lower respiratory tract. Okay, if you go across the pneumonia, so pneumonia we probably hear a lot because they are mainly affecting the lungs, right? So pneumonia is mainly affecting the lung part of your lower respiratory tract, and they include streptococcus pneumoniae, haemophilus influenza, mycobacterium pneumoniae, streptococcus aureus, and pseudomonas aeruginosa. Okay, these are all coming under pneumonia. And if you also go through that, you have anaerobic bacteria. So anaerobic bacteria are the bacteria which live in non-oxygen conditions, right? Aerobic means they live in oxygen condition, oxygen, they need oxygen for their survival. And anaerobic bacteria, they don't need oxygen for their survival, they are called anaerobic bacteria. And these bacteria, two types of bacteria would reside in the lung abscess, which may also affect your lower respiratory tract, right? So hope I am clear with the topic of lower respiratory tract and also the infections regarding the lower respiratory tract. So if my class is too fast, please let me know. Hope I am not making it fast. I want to cover the main important points only, and I will also include the main important topics in description, like the video related to these and also the theory part, everything. Okay, so please let me know, and see you in the next class with the next oh yeah, I have important topic to discuss in this also. I maybe in the next class I will cover. And mechanism of breathing, how importance of hemoglobin. See, I want to talk about hemoglobin now itself, not now, I mean in next class itself, because hemoglobin is something you need to know the structure of hemoglobin. What happens with the hemoglobin reacts with oxygen, like it has got a good affinity with oxygen, forming oxyhemoglobin, right? So I want to talk about the structure of hemoglobin and also the mechanism of diffusion of gases, okay, and also about the inhalation, exhalation, and importance of hemoglobin in next class. Okay, so hope I'm not boring you. Hope I'm engaging you with all the important classes. So see you in the next class, and have a nice day. Thank you. See you in the next class. Until then, stay positive, stay healthy, and be kind to everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.